Wolfpack, 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 Wolfpack.
Try and build an island, tell me why you think we wildin'.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your host with the most, the best from the Midwest, the overweight lady lover, the husky heartthrob, your not-so-local supervillain. Ladies want him. Men want to be him. Your global icon and national treasure, Starks, a.k.a. Big Sexy, a.k.a. Hollywood Starks Hogan, a.k.a. Big Chowder, a.k.a. the dark-skinned Dynamo, a.k.a. Go Grab the Bill, a.k.a. the Messiah of maniacal menagerie, aka Starksky Hutchinson, aka Chase Manhattan, aka Big Papa Blunt, aka Chase Money, aka God Body, aka Wave Cap Warrior, aka Did the PayPal clear yet, baby? And I welcome you to the Fake Wolfpack Podcast, the number one. Yes, the number one. I gotta say it 3 times because you know 3 times a charm. The number one wrestling podcast. You ain't gotta check no analytics. You ain't gotta check Google. Don't you dare ask G's because that motherfucker is busy and I've already done the work for you. Since we've made it through probably the best intro I've had yet. You've guessed it. This episode is a shit show. It's a shit show. Whoa. And this one is a special one because I actually get to talk about one of my favorite wrestling conspiracies. Bum, bum, bum. Not if they pump wrestlers full of drugs and they just let them die and don't care about it, because we know that's all true. But the Montreal ScrewJob. Yes. We're going to talk about the famous storyline between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. For those who don't know the lineage, this is the title change from where they had to take the belt off of Bret and put it on to Shawn. This is pretty early on into the Monday Night Wars. And some would say a huge catalyst for what was to come in the next coming years. So why they pulled the screw job is because Bret did not want to drop the title to Shawn. Shawn did not want to do it clean. Vince McMahon could not convince Bret to hold up the age-old tradition of when you leave a territory that you drop the strap and you put over somebody else so they can keep going and keep working. And the problem between Shawn and Bret was that they just truly didn't like each other, and there was a lack of respect between the two. So they weren't going to play fair with one another. And from all the stories that I've told, because frankly, I have never heard Shawn Michaels' side of this. So after all of the different stories and ways that I've heard Bret Hart and Jim Cornette and Vince Russo tell this, that Shawn never wanted to try to work that out amicably. It was always going to be some fuck Bret Hart. So we get to this moment, and frankly, they didn't know what to do with Bret. The original thing was that Bret was going to drop the title on the following Monday. I think they had a pay-per-view on Sunday. He was going to drop it the following Monday and just leave clean, and that way he can go out on top as a hero and, you know, still go right off into the sunset. And that just wasn't going to work for Vince. So no suggestions were landing for Bret. Nothing was really seeming appealing to him, so he didn't want to do any of that. And frankly, this was probably one of the last few wrestlers to have creative control in their contract. So this is why they were trying to make this deal with Bret, because the last few years of his contract, this is what he got. And well-deserving so. He gave Vince 15 years of his life up until this point. And, you know, so why not give him a little bit of respect? So regardless, they couldn't come to a agreement, and going into it, flying out Bret and Earl Hebner, the referee for that night's matchup, Brett gets Earl a first class ticket and he talks to him. He says, Earl, if they're going to screw me, please let me know. And listening to Earl and watching Earl tell this interview to Vice, I want to say probably 10, 20 years later from when it happened, you can still see the fear and how shooken up he was. And frankly, I've never heard anything bad about Earl Hebner, and he's all the big matches, Earl is there. Big match Earl is always in my mind when it comes to it. And it became a thing of, is it worth Earl's job? And at that point in time, WCW wasn't reigning true, and they weren't going to pay Earl the type of money that he needed to support his family and things. So WWE honestly put the pressure on Earl to make the call and do these things. So they end up getting into it. The set and the spot was getting Brett into the sharpshooter and ringing the bell, because when you're in the sharpshooter, it's going to look like you're going to tap out regardless, whether it happens or not. The poor angle and everything that's happening, they get Brett in the sharpshooter, they ring the bell, and all hell breaks loose. He trips, he spits on Vince, he goes into a blind fit and goes crazy. So later on, Brett is still fuming in the locker room, asking questions, who was in on it. He's gonna beat up everybody, and he went on a rampage. So everyone is saying, yo, Vince, you owe Brett this, you have to talk to him and be frank with him. And they go to have their face-to-face. Brett says to Vince, look, I'm gonna hop in the shower, and if you're here when I get out, I'm gonna knock you the fuck out. And sure enough, Brett takes a nice hearty shower and comes out and gives Vince McMahon the meanest uppercut, and legit Friday style knocks this man off of his feet, sending him flying into the air. So in a nutshell, that's the Montreal ScrewJob. So after this, we've got the birth of heel Vince, and Bret Hart goes on a kayfabe heel run where he exposes the industry, and everybody thought, like, you know, not Bret Hart, the son of a wrestler, would have ever done this, but you know, ego and pride, it's a motherfucker, man. And you know, Bret leaves the WWE to go to WCW, and here's the elephant in the room nobody wants to talk about. What the fuck did Bret Hart do in WCW? Yeah, okay. And we'll talk about that on, you know, another episode of this shit show where we talk about Vince Russo in WCW and Bret Hart in WCW, and why the fuck did Bret Hart become a heel there? So yeah, that has been the shit show episode of the Fake Wolfpack podcast. My name is Starks. Follow me on all social medias at villain_Starks, STARKKS. Stay safe. And you know what? Another thing you can do, stay in the fucking house, please, because I would like to go back out and get some random pussy, and y'all like killing that shit. Thanks.